I got in here at 5 o'clock is normal, and normally this takes just a couple of pushes of the button, boom, it's all ready to go. None of it. And I guess she was saying they had a little bit of problem with it too.
Yeah, they are.
And she told me some of the stuff to do, and I did it, and never could get it to work. So now that it is 5:58, we're going old school, which is just push the button and that's that.
So Judy's not?
Judy's got her vertigo bad, and we'll see if Connie shows up. We'll give her a couple minutes since we're still early. And I'll have to talk to you. I think we're going to put it on after Christmas. Okay. And if you want it.
I do.
Okay. We gotta get a couple of things squared away first, and I want to take the carpet out. There's 2 rooms with carpet, and I want to make it match the rest of the floor. And then I gotta clean the garage.
Are you moving?
Well, we've always wanted. Our plan was always to downsize, and we put it on a year plus ago, thinking that we saw what the little condos were going for down the street that were being built. It was like, wow, this is the time to do it. Well, it wasn't the time to do it, and that was fine. But now it seems like, man, anything on the lake seems to be good. So, and you can almost see the lake now. It's still a little bit down.
On good days, yeah.
Well, it's in our backyard usually, sometimes too much. All right, we'll get going. I guess Connie won't be here, but that's all right.
I didn't see her this morning at church.
Okay.
So-
I didn't see her either.
Okay. Well, no worries.
Oh, you go to the lake service?
Where are you gonna live then?
Well, we're thinking apartment to start out with, and then.
There in the area?
Oh yeah, we're not going to go anywhere.
You'll love that for 10 minutes.
Wow, that's a whole other thing. All right, let's get started before we go on that rabbit trail. So this chapter is cool. Okay, so let's just get started because I'll tell the story of where this is all coming from. Schedule you asked about. So next week it won't be online anymore. It was supposed to be online because Delaney was supposed to go to a cheer competition in Dallas.
Oh, right.
Right before I left, Melody told me that it just got canceled.
Oh.
So, they canceled it. Apparently, they're scared of COVID and all that. So that online, forget about it. We'll be here. Yes. So then the 20th, we'll do chapter 14. Then we'll take off 2 weeks, the 27th and the 2nd. Then we have 2 chapters left in January 10th, January 17th, and then we are off back to Systematic Theology Part 4. I'm sort of looking forward to working through Systematic Theology because the updated book comes out tomorrow. Now, we are not getting the updated book, but I'll pull from the updated book, when we do it. So that's the schedule. We get 2 weeks, off 2 weeks, 2 weeks, and then we are done with Supernatural and off to Systematic Theology. Probably next week I'll have you a schedule for Systematic Theology. I have it outlined, but I haven't put it on paper to give you. So you're going to give.
I was going to give him this schedule, if you'd like.
It might be up there. There.
Yeah, I'm probably not going to do the systematic theology.
Oh, it'll be good.
I'm so far behind on that I wouldn't know.
Oh.
I think I'm in the lead.
No, you're good.
I'm so far behind.
No, you would actually be, it'll be fine, because it's like picking it. I mean, when we start a section, it's sort of like just picking it out. So it's not like this one where it builds on top of each other. You need to come back because you're entertaining. All right, so last week, or not last week, the week before last, because Thanksgiving was last week.
Yeah.
We left where Jesus was in Caesarea Philippi, up in Mount Hermon. All right. We had the big Peter conversation that on this rock I will build my church, and the gates of hell will not prevail. Well, we found out that the gates of hell are actually there.
Yeah.
This is Mount Hermon.
Wow.
And this is also where the Mount of Transfiguration happened. And there was a couple other events that happened that one of them we will talk about, sort of, I'll telegraph it later on in the end. But from a big theological standpoint, this area was known as Bashan. And it is where in 1st Enoch, which is an intertestamental book, non-canonized book. I'll shut this door. Because I think there's going to be people
Constant.
coming in that.
Oh, you like competition,
Yes. Well, unless we can just drag people in. And that, hey, this is where your, angel thing is. Anyways, this was Bashan, and this is where in you could call it lore, you could call it whatever, but in the Jewish history, this is where they believed that the angels that came down, that are described in Genesis 6, this is where they came down to. The sons of man that came into the daughters of men, and the offspring were the Nephilim. Dead Nephilim, which are giants, become spirit demons because they're part spirit, part, us, I guess. And so this was the mount, this was the gates of hell, and that's where we left Jesus. All right, we left him, and as soon as he gets done with this little part of his ministry up north, he starts the journey down to the Passion Week, and this is where he starts telling his disciples, "Hey, I'm going to be persecuted. I'm going to die, but I'll be raised on the third day." So this trip is where he started telling that to the disciples. And so that's where we get today. And today, we're going to skip the whole trip. We're going to skip the whole Passion Week. And we're going to end here. We're going to start here. The trial. Where Jesus, in Matthew 26, comes and is taken and is captured on Garden of Gethsemane, which is on the Mount of Olives. He is brought in front of Caiaphas, and this is where the Sanhedrin, and how many people are in the Sanhedrin?
Lots, aren't there?
Do you remember? 70.
70.
There's 70. All right. Keep that sort of in the back of your mind. The other reason I say keep that number in the back of your mind is we've talked about the divine council, and we've talked about the Genesis 10 and 11 nations. How many nations were there?
70 or 72.
70 or 72.
72,
Absolutely right. So keep that in mind, because something happened that we didn't talk about out the Mount Hermon. All right, so we'll talk about that as we come down.
What is the rationale for it being Mount Hermon? Because in Mark 9, it says, 6 days later, Jesus took him, Peter, James, and John, and led them up a high mountain.
Yes, because they were in the same place. So they came to Caesarea Philippi, and that's a good question. So Caesarea Philippi, let me get back to that map.
Well, this was the actual transfiguration.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, so before
Sits
that,
at the foot of a mountain, the rock is that mountain.
yes.
That when he was talking about building his church on a rock.
Yes, so that was in Caesarea Philippi.
Mm-hmm.
This mountain range is Mount Hermon. The range there, this area here. And this area here is also known as Bashan, in the early days. So the reason that we know it is in the Mount Hermon area is because that's where they were. And Caesarea Philippi is what really keys us in on that.
Which was a sort of like the Sodom and Gomorrah of its time, is the way I get it.
It's sort of, because we go that way. It was a Roman outpost, so you've got that. It was named Caesarea. Well, and they made it Caesarea Philippi because there was another Caesarea on the sea, which they called Caesarea Maritime.
And there was another Philippi too.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, but that's way
Yeah.
way up there. So where we went last week was this is the area from the old tribe of Dan where they put basically a idol, a bull, in this area, so that when anybody came from the north down into Israel, they had to pass that bull, which was Baal, and keep that in mind too, because that comes into play in this too. So good. We talked about that, but it's a good reminder. So this is short little video. It's the videos I use from. It's the Latter-day Saint videos, but they're very good. It's King James version, but this is this scene from Matthew 26.
Bring forward the witnesses. State for all that hear your accusation.
This fellow said, I am able to destroy the temple of God and to build it in 3 days.
I adjure thee by the living God, that thou tell us whether thou be the Christ, the Son of God.
Thou hast said.
Nevertheless, if I tell you, ye will not believe. Nevertheless, I say unto you, hereafter shall ye see the Son of Man, sitting on the right hand of power and coming in the clouds of heaven.
Come on! He hath spoken blasphemy. What further need have we of witnesses? What think ye? He is guilty of death.
All right. So, that's always been a pretty weird scene.
Yeah.
Why did this set him off so bad? Because this is what he said. Now, I'm giving you the New American Standard Version and not the King James Version, so the ye's, thous, and yo's and all that are out. But he said, you have said it yourself, meaning he asked him if he was the Son of God. Nevertheless, I tell you, hereafter you will see the Son of Man sitting at the right hand of power. Notice power is capitalized, all right? It could be translated right hand of God, all right? And coming on the clouds of heaven. Just to set you off there. We're going to bookend this. You're going to get this exact video towards the end again. Because what we're going to do is first give you the disclaimer. I have stolen pretty much all of this from a lecture that was in the first class of week 12. It is not for this chapter. It's for the chapter back in the Old Testament where he sort of ties all the pieces together for this rider on the cloud rider thing. So, disclaimer, I have stole this. Now, mind you, I'm not giving it word for word, and I'm not going into as much detail as he does. But I had to say that because there are a couple of fundamental questions. And just bear with me because we're going to go on this long rabbit trail to end up exactly back at this video to answer the question. So the three questions that we're going to look at are, is this idea that God would come to people as a man isolated to the New Testament? Now, obviously, we've gone through some of this already. So, hopefully you're answering that as no, it's not isolated in the New Testament. How does the Old Testament put forth the idea of God as man? And then we've talked about the angel of the Lord and some of these other things before, are the appearances of God as a man in the Old Testament Jesus? All right, so that's sort of what we're going to try to go through today. All right, I took out a little bit of this stuff that he goes through, which is I am not going to try, and I'm going to tell you this, and I'm going to leave it there and walk away. I am not going to try to connect this idea of God as man in the other cultures that were around Israel at the time, meaning putting that in the context. He does that, not going there. I mean, that's just too deep for us right now. So we're going to look at this little scriptural roadmap, and I'm telling you what, if you have your Bible, grab it. I'll have everything up here, but we're going to go crazy through scriptures. Don't worry about it if you don't have it, because you're going to get it all up here. But we're going to look at 4 things. The word, how the... My apologies. Okay, thank you. How the Old Testament looks at the word of the Lord, the angel of the Lord, the name of the Lord, and the one who rides on the clouds, and how all of those are equated to Jesus in the Old Testament, and then how we see those in the New Testament. Because this last one is the last statement that Jesus made to Caiaphas that made him go completely off. And once you see what Jesus was saying to him, you'll see he was basically saying, let me tell you exactly who I am. And it's really cool. So, you get this idea, and we've talked about it before, of the 2 powers in heaven idea. Now, there's a book. I don't have it yet. I have it on order. It's like $40, so don't buy it. But it's by this Alan Siegel. He is a rabbi. He's also dead, so he's passed along. But the idea of 2 powers in heaven, a visible Yahweh and an invisible Yahweh, was always part of the Jewish culture. Up until after 100 AD. What was happening after 100 AD? Christianity was spreading. The temple was gone. And the Jews were dispersed out into the nations. So basically, the passages, and I'll go down a little rabbit trail here, but the passages that are in the Old Testament, in particular the Septuagint, which is what's quoted in the New Testament most of the time, had all this stuff in it. Had this idea of a visible Yahweh and an invisible Yahweh. And so they had Yahweh in the flesh. They had this whole thing in there. And we'll go through it a little bit from an Old Testament standpoint. This idea of a visible and an invisible Yahweh gets so intermixed that it is one. And the Jews understood this. This was part of their theology. So we'll talk about a couple of these really quick. The first one is Genesis 19:24, which you know this. This is the Sodom and Gomorrah, all right? And if you remember, Sodom and Gomorrah, Abraham gets his visit from 3 people. We find out 2 of them are angels, and we find out that one of them is Yahweh. Okay? Because what happens is, and I'm not going to read the whole story, but I put it up on the screen just so you had the verses. 2 of these angels, after he feeds them, because Abraham recognizes them. He sees them there and he says, "Come in, my Lord, let me wash your feet. Let me go get you some food, some bread for you. Stay here and we'll take care of it." He's like, "Fine." So what happens is the 2 angels go to Sodom and Gomorrah. And Yahweh, in the flesh, as a person, sits there and has this conversation with Abraham. Well, what happens if there's 40 good people in Sodom and Gomorrah, where you're going to you wouldn't, the Lord wouldn't of judgment wouldn't do that. And basically we get the idea that he's sitting there going, no, I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't do that. So you get God in a physical body talking to Abraham. Okay? And so the angels are over in Sodom and Gomorrah now, and you got this conversation going on, and then from heaven, the Lord wipes them out. Okay? So you got from heaven, and you got this guy on earth. So you got the visible and the invisible. So you get that.
So that means there's two?
Hold that in your mind. No, there's not. There's one, but they telegraph the fact that there are an invisible and a visible one. Because here's one that we don't see a lot, and it goes by so quick that we're just like, well, okay. At the end of the Exodus, all right, meaning they have escaped. So up in chapter 14 of Exodus, we get the seas divided, Pharaoh's armies wiped out. We get onto the other side, and Moses gives this song of praise. It's really the first song. And what he says is, right here, the Lord, Yahweh, is a warrior. The Lord is his name. And we go on to say what he did. The Pharaoh's chariots came out. We followed him down. All right, so the Lord did this, right? Keep that in mind, because we're going to talk about a little bit later when we recap this story, where God basically says, hey, I'm giving you the angel of the Lord, the angel of Yahweh. He will direct you. He will tell you what to do, and he's the one that did all this stuff. So keep that in mind. So you get the idea of you got these two powers things going on. And then Daniel 7:9, just hold on to that. I'm not going to show you that yet, because we're going to get to that.
Well, it's his vision.
It's the vision, yes. But
going back, I mean, I don't want to drag this up, but
no, go ahead.
one of the problems I thought, there's some troublesome verses in the Bible, particularly when it comes to conversations about Yahweh.
Mm-hmm.
Supposedly, anyone that sees Yahweh dies.
Yes.
Well, if he was supposed to be Yahweh in a human form, because Moses couldn't look upon the burning bush.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
I mean, it seems like a contradiction.
That's good, because this is sort of the question to answer. It does seem like a contradiction, because we get the verses in the Bible in John. No one has seen God, because God is a spirit. And that is true.
Well, that's what I was going to say, unless that human form was not Yahweh. It was instead an angel.
Well,
an archangel, perhaps.
We're going to go there.
Or an Elohim.
Well, an Elohim is purely spiritual. But obviously they can materialize, because we have angels in the story where the three come in. Oh yeah, this is the fascinating part. So hang on to your seats, because we're going to go through these. Oh, that's weird. What happened to my screen?
It got big enough to read.
Big enough to read. Go back. Huh. That's just weird. All right, there you go. That was weird. All right, so we're going to go through these things, and we're going to go through them fairly quickly, because I actually want to get to the end of this. But yell and scream when it doesn't make sense. So first thing we're going to talk about is the word of the Lord, okay? Because we get a couple of these very interesting things, and here's the first interesting thing. Abraham's promise of a son. So when we go to Genesis 15, we get this sort of mixed, and you can see that's about as big as I can make it. I think that's why it's stretched out. Okay, so read this carefully. After these things, the word of the Lord came to Abram in a vision, saying, "Do not fear, Abram, I am a shield to you. Your reward shall be very great." Abram said, "O Lord," that's Yahweh Elohim, "O Yahweh Elohim, what will you give me, since I am childless, and the heir of my house is the dude from Damascus." Eleazar. Yeah. And Abram said, "Since you have given me no offspring to me, one born in my house is my heir." And then behold, the word of the Lord came to him, saying, "This man will not be your heir, but one who will come from your own body, he shall be your heir." Now, here's the weird thing. And he took him outside and said, "Look towards the heavens and count the stars if you're able to. Count them," he said, so shall your descendants be. How does a spirit take someone outside?
Well, this is going on as a vision to start with, is it not?
It's a vision, yeah, but doesn't that language sort of switch your mind's thinking from a vision to something else?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and so just hang on to that one. You get the idea here that when we read it carefully, all of a sudden this idea of a vision and a spirit, all right, so if it's a spirit, that's going to be in a vision, okay? But all of a sudden he's taking him out, and that makes it seem like it's switched from not so much a vision anymore into something more than that.
Or he's sleepwalking.
So then you get this. And we've talked about this one before, 1 Samuel 3, which is the coolest verse, or coolest little section of the world. This is where Samuel is in the temple as a very young child, okay? And Eli is there with him. And they're sitting there sleeping with the ark, all right? So we'll just read this. And again, listen and read it really carefully. Let me make it bigger. I just have to remember to bring it back when we go back to the slide. There we go. All right. So now the boy Samuel was ministering to the Lord before Eli. And the word from the Lord was rare in those days. Again, the word from the Lord was rare in those days. Visions were infrequent. And it happened at that time as Eli was lying down in his place. Now his eyesight had begun to grow dim, and he could not see very well. And the lamp of the Lord had not yet gone out. And Samuel was lying down in the temple of the Lord, where the ark of God was. So you get the idea of where they're at. That the Lord, Yahweh, called Samuel. And Samuel said, "Here am I." And he ran to Eli, saying, here I am, for you called me." But he said, "I did not call you. Lie down and go away, you brat." So he went and lied down. And the Lord called yet again Samuel. So Samuel arose and went to Eli and said, "Here I am, for you called me." But he answered, "I did not call you, my son. Lie down." Now Samuel did not yet know that the Lord, nor had the word of the Lord yet been revealed to him. So the Lord called Samuel again for the third time, and he rose and he went to Eli and he said, "Here I am, for you called me." And then Eli discerned that the Lord was calling the boy. All right? So Eli said to Samuel, "Go lie down, and it shall be if he calls you, you shall say, 'Speak, Lord, for your servant is listening.'" So Samuel went, laid down in his place. Then the Lord came, catch this, and stood and called as at other times, "Samuel, Samuel." And Samuel, "Speak, for your servant is listening." And then the Lord said, and we go on to that, "A spirit does not come and stand." All right, at least that's what the words sort of lead you to believe. So we have a physical appearance, all right? And it's not a ghost, all right? Because I'm sorry if I'm a little kid, which Samuel would have been a little kid at this point. If it's a ghost, he's probably a little bit freaked out. You know what I mean? So it's more than that. You buy that? I like when you're here. I mean, because can you buy that? I mean, something's going on.
Well, he's a teenager by this point, if I'm...
Yeah, probably around 13, maybe-ish. Yeah, something.
So he's not a small child.
He's not a small child, no.
No.
So, but I mean, you're talking about, what, that's like a 5th, 6th grader?
No, that'd be, 13 would be high school, wouldn't it?
And
Middle school.
It'd be middle school.
Late middle school then.
Probably, yeah.
8th grade.
8th grade, yeah.
So
Yeah.
So I mean, there's something going on here.
Mhm.
Let's just put it that way. There's something going on. I think we can agree with that. Let's look at one more example. And this is Jeremiah. And this is where Jeremiah is basically called to be a prophet. The word of Jeremiah, I think it was first, we'll go down to 4. Now the word of the Lord, again, we're getting that word of the Lord thing, came to me, saying, before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. This is the word of the Lord talking to Jeremiah. And before you were born, I consecrated you. I have appointed you as a prophet to the nations. Then I said, alas, Lord God, behold, I do not know how to speak, because I am young. But the Lord said to me, do not say that I am young, because everywhere I send you, you shall go, and all I command you to do, you shall speak. Do not be afraid then, for I am with you to deliver you, declares the Lord. Now here's the game. Then the Lord stretched out his hand and touched my mouth. And the Lord said to me, behold, I have put my word in your mouth. And we'll just sort of stop right there. Now, there is anthropomorphic language that's in the Bible. And that is language that basically assigns God with things we can understand. He can see, he can hear. So you get that kind of anthropomorphic language. But when somebody touches you, that sort of goes a little bit beyond, the Lord can see, the Lord heard me, you know what I mean, that kind of thing. So we got this idea that the word of the Lord is sort of leading you to believe that it's a type of physical appearance of Yahweh. Good. Can we buy that from those verses so far?
Well, leading up to that, he is more of a spirit.
Yep.
And then when he touches his mouth, to physically touch something, you've got to probably be of that same...
Yeah. Well, I go back to the Abraham and getting promised, or before Sodom and Gomorrah. I mean, listen, a spirit doesn't sit down and eat.
Right.
I mean, so you got something there. So you got this word of the Lord thing, all right? But now we get the next thing, and I put these verses up on the screen because they're a little shorter, but you get the name of the Lord, all right? Now, so let's go through some of these verses. So this is basically in Deuteronomy when we're talking about...
Bring the screen down.
Thank you. Thank you. All right, so this is where the Lord's giving Moses some commands, all right? And he's basically, he's giving the laws of the sanctuary. And we'll just go to the middle part there, because this is verse 4 and this is verse 11. Then it shall come about that the place in which the Lord your God will choose for his name to dwell. Okay. Let's tear this apart a little bit. I never understood this idea of the name of the Lord until you start to sort of understand Jewish tradition a little bit more. They would not say the name Yahweh, which was the name of the Lord, okay? They would not say Yahweh. In fact, there are some Jewish, there are some professors in academia that teach Hebrew that won't allow their students to say the name Yahweh in Hebrew when they're talking the text. So what happens is we get this idea of the name of Elohim. So this would be the Yahweh, your Elohim, will choose for his would be Yahweh, I think. I'd have to look at the Greek, or the Hebrew name. So all of a sudden you get this idea of the name being what they would call Yahweh because they wouldn't say Yahweh.
So then what term would they use to identify
So
who they're talking about?
That's the thing. They would say the name. They're not saying the Lord.
Well, Elohim would be a form, but how would you know which one?
Yeah, so that's the trick with Elohim, because Elohim is sort of it's like a category. That's spiritual beings. So the Yahweh of Elohims, or you also get the El of Elohims. So they'll just say El. So, but yeah, you get this idea that, and you're going to find out or you remember when Moses went in and you had the burning bush, and he said, well, how am I going to go to these guys and they know that you sent me? He said, well, tell them I am.
Who I am.
Yeah. Yeah.
I am sent you.
Yeah. So, yeah. So you get the name, we're going to dig a little bit deeper here. So you get this idea that the name of the Lord, or chose for his name, is pointing to Yahweh. All right?
It doesn't seem, though, that that's the point of that passage.
Just one example. The
point of the passage, though, is, there you shall bring all that I command you, your burnt offerings, your sacrifices, your tithes, and the contributions.
But I'm choosing it for my name,
Yes.
which means I'm going to put my name in it, which means that is going to be Yahweh. And keep that in mind, because what's going to happen is when we look at the angel of the Lord, he's going to tell the people that I have put my name in him. So so we're going to keep going on that. Where is this one? So this is a psalm. May the Lord answer you in the day of your trouble. May the name of the Lord of Jacob set you securely on high. Some boast in chariots and some in horses, but we will boast in the name of the Lord our God.
But they wouldn't have said, in the name of Yahweh.
Yeah, what would happen is they'd say the name of our Elohim. Yeah, it's crazy. But keep this in mind, because
What's the importance of this? I mean, why do they feel that there's some tradition to this, I assume?
well, did
they think it was sinful in some way, that they get punished?
It was more or less reverence,
Okay.
fear of the Lord, reverence of the Lord. That the name was so holy, so otherly, which is what holy sort of means. That to say it, you weren't worthy to even say the name.
Okay.
And behold, the name of the Lord comes to remote places. So you sort of get the idea that this idea that when we hear the name of the Lord, and the reason I keep saying this is because we're going to tie this Old Testament stuff to the New Testament stuff, and where the word of the Lord, the name of the Lord, the angel of the Lord are talked about in the Old Testament, in the New Testament they are pointing at Jesus. And that's sort of where we're going. Now, here's the one that sort of ties it together, because we're going to transition from the name of the Lord to the angel of the Lord. And this is in Exodus, where basically Yahweh is saying to Moses, behold, I am going to send an angel before you to guard you along the way, to bring you into the place which I have prepared. Be on your guard before him, obey his voice, do not be rebellious towards him, for he will not pardon your transgressions, he will not pardon your sin. My name is in him. Since my name is in him. But if you truly obey his voice and do all he says, then I will be an enemy to your enemies and an adversary to your adversaries. Now, here's the thing. Keep this one in mind. Because when we get to the New Testament, it's going to point back to this angel, and it's going to tell you this angel's Jesus.
Jesus, yeah.
He's going to tell you this angel's Jesus. And it's also going to tell you, when we look at other passages, that the Lord is the one that sent them through, that protected them. So you get this idea now that the Lord, Yahweh, is telling them that I'm going to give you an angel. That angel is equated to be Jesus, and then in other passages in the Old Testament, it's basically saying the Lord did this for you. So you get this meshing of what's going on here. You get this idea of a physical appearance and an invisible appearance. So in Deuteronomy, we get to the name will dwell with you again that points to this event. So I'm not going to go there too much. So now you get exactly what I just telegraphed. Who in the Old Testament, in their own scriptures, delivered from Egypt and guided her to the promised land? I got 4 verses. There's more, but these are the 4 we'll look at that tell you who did it. And he personally brought you to Egypt. Who?
From Egypt.
Hmm?
From Egypt.
From Egypt. Because he loved you. He is your God. Out of the heavens, he let you hear his voice and disciplined you. And the earth let him see you with great fire, and you heard his words from the midst of the fire. So you get this idea that Yahweh, the Lord, did it. All right? But then you get, now the angel of the Lord came up from Gilgad and Bashan, and he said, I brought you out of Egypt. Well, wait a second. The Lord did it here, and now the angel of the Lord did it here. How can, it's not different. You see how they're meshing these two together? There is only one Lord.
What do you mean it's not different?
What's happening is you either have a contradiction, or the angel of Yahweh and Yahweh are one. Because we get in Deuteronomy 6, the Lord our God is one. All right? So we either have a big old contradiction, or this angel of the Lord, this word of the Lord, this name of the Lord, who is going to be attributed to Jesus, is the Lord. It's going to get better, trust me. Just wait until we get to the end of this. So, you shall not be afraid of them. You shall well remember what the Lord your God did to Pharaoh and to all of Egypt, and the great trials which your eyes saw, and the signs and the wonders and the mighty hand and the outstretched arm by which the Lord your God brought you out. And so shall the Lord your God do all to the people of whom you were afraid. And that's in Deuteronomy, where it's sort of Moses' commentary after 40 years. Now you get this one. I love this one. Remember Joshua? Right before they go into the land, they're sitting there, and it says, now it came about that Joshua was in Jericho. And he lifted up his eyes and looked, and behold, a man was standing opposite him with his sword drawn in his hand. This is a picture of the Lord of hosts. And Joshua went to him and said to him, are you for us or for our adversaries? And he said, no, rather, and I indeed come now as captain of the host of Yahweh. And Yahweh fell on his face to the earth and bowed down and said to him, what has my Lord to say to his servant? Now the captain of the Lord of hosts said to Joshua, where have we heard this one before? Remove your sandals from your feet, for the place where you stand is holy.
Moses?
Burning bush.
Yeah.
Moses. It's the exact same thing. Get the picture? Sort of? No?
No.
Okay, well, let's see if we can bring it together. And here's how it will be interesting to bring together. So, Jacob. And I'm going back a little bit in time here. But Jacob Israel.
Oh, yeah.
When they came out of the land down to Israel, all right, and he's about ready to die, he blesses Joseph's kids, Manasseh and Ephraim, all right, and he gives them this blessing. Now, to make this make sense, we've got to go back a little bit. When Joseph was running from his brother, Esau, he stopped at Bethel, and he basically slept there and saw Jacob's ladder, the ladder going into heaven. Okay, so you got that. And the second thing that happened to him is when he came back the night after his, 17, 20 years, I can't remember, that he was up to get his, working for Laban. When he comes,
Oh, yeah, well, it was 7 and then 7, so 14.
At least 14,
Yeah.
probably might be a little bit more than that. When he's coming back, the night before he splits up the family and he's going into the land to see Esau, he wrestles with someone.
Yeah.
Now, he called it an angel, all right? It's also, in Hebrews, equated to be the angel of the Lord. Angel of the Lord, go into that. So here's what we get. And this is not obvious in English. But he does the old crossover thing where he blesses the second-born before he blesses the firstborn, and then you get all that crazy stuff. But he blessed Joseph and said, "The God before whom my father Abraham and Isaac walked, the God who has been my shepherd all my life to this day, the angel who has redeemed me from all evil, may he bless the boys." So we got God, God, angel. Okay? What doesn't come out in the English is this he is singular. All three of these are singular in the Hebrew. So he's equating, God to 2 and the angel to 1. We find out if we dig through Scripture, and you don't really get this until you get to Hebrew, that the angel that he wrestled with was the angel of Yahweh. He's equating Yahweh. In this case, it would be Elohim, but that's Yahweh. So Yahweh, Yahweh, angel of Yahweh. He's sitting there. That he makes these singular, makes these the same. Get there yet? Okay. So we get this roadmap. You notice we got through the word, we got through the angel, we got through the name. Let's look at the New Testament. How does John equate the word of the Lord? In the beginning was the Word. The Word was with God. The Word was God. And the Word became flesh. All right? So now we got all the words. Now we got all the words of the Lord in the Old Testament being equated. Word of the Lord became flesh to Jesus. Angel of the Lord. Jude 5. Jesus, who saved a people before the land of Egypt. He's equating the angel of the Lord, who is equated back to Yahweh, to being Jesus, the visible Yahweh. It gets better. The name. John 17, 6, 12, and you can see the verses there, 26. I have manifested your name to the men. This is Jesus talking, whom you gave me. While I was with them, I kept them in your name, which you have given me. And I have made your name known to them and will be known. So you get this idea that Jesus is now saying the name is God, and we're going to get in Acts that the name is Jesus for the sake of the name, accepting from the Gentiles. Consider worthy to suffer for his name. All right, well, his name is Jesus in Acts 5. All right, we missed one thing. We missed, who's this rider in the cloud? Where we sort of circled all the way around to get to? Well, you remember this guy?
Mm-hmm.
Let's read this whole passage. So, there we go. Now let me make this again. Remind me when I forget to do it. There we go. Those who seized Jesus led him away to Caiaphas, the high priest, where the scribes and the elders were gathered. But Peter, who followed him from a distance in the courtyard of the high priest, and entered in and sat down with the officers to see who was crying. Now, the chief priests and the whole council kept trying to obtain false testimony against Jesus so that they might put him to death. Now remember, Jesus up here was basically saying to Satan, game's up, you know, I'm going to build my church here, and the gates of hell, where you are Lord over, will not stand. Mount of Transfiguration, we get Moses and Elijah coming in, and basically what are they talking about? Jesus dying on the cross, which they're not supposed to tell anybody about. You remember? So you get this, Jesus has declared war up here, and now he's come down here because he has to be killed. All right? In order for this plan to work, he has to be killed. So people stood up and, you know, gave false testimony. A man said, I was able to destroy the temple of God and rebuild it in 3 days. The high priest stood up and said, do you not answer? Jesus kept his mouth shut during all of that. What is it that these men are testifying against you? But Jesus kept silent. And the high priest, this is Caiaphas, said to him, I adjure you by the living God that you, and that's so funny, by the living God. He is the living God, right there in front of you. He says that you tell us whether you are the anointed one, the Son of God. All right? And Jesus said, you have said it yourself. Now, if he stopped there, that would have been bad enough. Nevertheless, I tell you, hereafter you shall see the Son of Man sitting on the right hand of power, and that power word could be translated God. And here's the kicker, and coming on the clouds of heaven. All right? High priest tore his clothes. This is blasphemy. That's what they put him to death for. This is what they put him to death for. Was because he said, the Son of Man will be sitting on the right hand of power and coming in the clouds of heaven.
But he doesn't say he's the Son of Man. I don't see how that's blasphemy, but...
Because they knew exactly what he meant when he said it. And that is 5 instances in the Old Testament where he who rides on the cloud or makes his clouds his chariots is mentioned. 5 times. Oh, thank you. Thank you. 5 times it's mentioned. Here are 4. All right? And every time we get he who rides in the clouds or makes his clouds his chariot, it's equated to Yahweh. Deuteronomy 33:26. There is none like God who rides the heavens to help you, and through the sky in his majesty. Psalm 68. To him who rides upon the high heavens, which is of ancient times, you get the idea, rides in the heavens. Isaiah 19:1, the Lord is riding on a swift cloud and is about to come to Egypt. Get this idea, all right? That was 4. Here's the 5th one. And hopefully, if I've done my job right, all of this will just be like, you gotta be kidding. So, we get this scene, and I'm gonna read the whole thing because I'm gonna skip a couple of verses and then I'm gonna go down a little bit. So in 9 we get this vision. I kept looking until thrones were set up and the Ancient of Days took his seat. His vesture was like white snow, and his hair and the hair of his head was like pure wool. His throne was ablaze with fire. Its wheels were burning fire, very much like Ezekiel 1. All right? A river of fire was flowing, and coming out from before him, thousands upon thousands were attending him, and myriads upon myriads were standing before him. The court sat, and the books were open. I'm going to skip those next two verses, but now I get this. And I kept looking in the night vision, and behold, with the clouds of heaven, one like a son of man was coming. He came up to the Ancients of Days and was presented before him. And to him was given dominion, glory, and a kingdom, that all the peoples, nations, and men of every language might serve him. His dominion is everlasting dominion, which will not pass away, and his kingdom is one which will not be destroyed. Okay, so we have gone through this way back when we went through the book of Daniel. I remember by myself this time. And we don't ever, I never connected this very well. But what's happening before this vision? All right, so we see that Daniel is seeing basically this council meeting happening, the books being open, and then in the clouds of heaven, the Son of Man coming and being handed dominion over the nations for an everlasting kingdom. But what's happening before that? Well, let's look. And if I'd have known I'd had to do this, I'd have put it all in slides, but that's all right. We have basically the big vision. Now, Daniel 7 and Daniel 2 sort of connect together a little bit. But we get the vision of the four beasts. In the first year of Belshazzar, king of Babylon, Daniel saw a vision, a dream and a vision in his mind, as one he laid on his bed. So I'm not going to read all that. What we get is this idea that we get four beasts, all right? In fact, I'll talk about it. We get four beasts. And the first three beasts, we find out if we connect the dots, you've got basically Babylon, you basically got Persia Median, you get Greece, and then you get the fourth beast, which is so bad that represents a little bit of Rome, but also represents the Antichrist to come. All right? Well, what happens is we get this four beast meeting, this vision, and then right after it, we get what? A divine council meeting that Daniel sees. This divine council meeting basically says, I looked up and I see the thrones. I see God on the throne. Describes the throne. I see everybody around him. And what are they trying to figure out? They're trying to figure out what to do with the last beast. Then I looked up because of the sound of the boastful words which the horn was speaking. So this is the last horn of the beast. And I kept looking until the beast was slain and his body was destroyed and given to the burning fire. You've got to connect that with Revelation. All right? For the rest of the beasts where dominions were taken away, but the extension of life was granted to them in a appointed period of time. That's all prophecy. But basically, this idea is, and let me get back to here, is that we have a divine council meeting that basically says the person or the spirit or the being who has authority over the world to basically get rid of the Satan is the one riding the clouds who is the Son of Man. So, you get the four beasts, all right? You get the lion, you get the bear, you get the leopard, and then you get the dreadful beast, and you get this. This is all Revelation right here. The 10 horns and 3 picked up, 1 little horn comes up. That's the Antichrist. That is the tribulation period. So when Jesus says to Caiaphas, I will be sitting on the right hand of the power of God, basically of God, and I will be the one writing in the clouds, he is telling him, I am the one that's been given dominion over the world. I am the Son of Man. I am the Son of God. He's basically saying, oh yeah, I'm the Messiah, but I'm more than the Messiah. I am Yahweh in the flesh. Because did you notice that in the throne room, there was the Ancient of Days and the Son of Man? There were two different beings, but they're one.
Well, he says there's two Ancient of Days.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he does, doesn't he?
I'm not sure I see that, but, or that, you know, I understand it.
Okay.
There's a better way of putting it.
Well, you wouldn't be alone with that, because this is the hard thing to sit there and talk about to somebody about the Trinity. How can there be Father, Son, and Holy Ghost and Spirit? Okay?
See, that's something that I don't think humans can answer. Is the only way I can approach that is it's beyond our comprehension.
Yes.
And our ability to try to put into some logical, convenient, comfortable
Oh yeah.
picture.
Because everywhere that we look, the Shema, which is Deuteronomy 6, the prayer that is, you know, Jewish people say basically every morning and every night, says, oh Lord our God is one. You know, well, sort of tells you right there. You see throughout the Old Testament where there's a visible, there is an invisible. Sometimes they come together. Sometimes they're called the word of the Lord, the name of the Lord, the angel of the Lord, but they're all Yahweh. How in the world it all works, I would agree. I don't think we're going to quite understand, but that's where you put, that's where your faith comes into.
Yeah.
So, did all that make sense? Sort of.
Well, I yes and no. I mean, again, I go back to saying I don't think it's supposed to make sense.
But let's put it to trying to make sense on why in the world Caiaphas got so mad that this is what they used to put Jesus to death.
Well, partly I think is because that's his role, is to.
That was God's plan, I
Well,
think.
but it's also his role as a Pharisee or whatever, high priest.
Yeah, but they
whatever
didn't.
he was to be, you know, not only upset about it, but to take action. You know, why else is he the high priest if he's going to let people blaspheme?
But he also knew that, because you hear it in, I don't know the verse, but in the New Testament, he basically has the vision that someone must die for the sins of all the people, for the nation.
Caiaphas does?
Yes. Yes, I have to look. He basically has that vision that says, you know, Caiaphas had the vision that that one would have to die for the nation, to save the nation. I'd have to look that up. I don't have the reference off the top of my head. I could probably find it pretty quick.
I'm not saying you're wrong. I
Yeah.
just don't remember it.
It's like one of those lines that just skips on right by. So we're gonna watch the video again. Now put it in put yourself in Caiaphas' mind. He knows that there is an invisible and a visible Yahweh. It's in their theology. He knows the prophecy of Daniel that basically, that we just read, that the Son of Man who comes in the clouds is basically given dominion over it. That's what Jesus is claiming to be to Caiaphas, and it just
Messes his mind.
it just he's going to put him to death because of that.
And so Caiaphas and all of the Jews around him would have understood that and known that, because it certainly isn't clear to me, even after all the discussion, that I would have known that he's blaspheming.
He is claiming right there to be God. He is claiming to be the visible.
That's what I'm saying, though. In that verse, I don't see him saying that. I am the Son of Man.
They would have understand that he was making the claim
Okay.
that I'm telling you from Daniel 7, I'm that guy, Caiaphas. I'm that. Not only am I that, am I the Son of God? I am God. I mean, he is making a statement,
Okay.
and it's right in his face. Otherwise, why would he have gotten crazy like that over that?
Well, like I said, I mean, I think he was expected to if they all understood that was what was happening. Because I didn't live in those days, I don't see that.
It's hard to. Well, I think it's really hard for us that know the New Testament to look at the Old Testament without the New Testament in our head. You know what I mean? Because we can sit there and look at those statements and say, "Oh, that's Jesus." They would not know that.
Well, he makes a reference, and I forget if it was in this chapter or the one previous. I believe it was in one of those two. He makes a statement about the fact that people in that time, the plan, God's plan, wasn't clear to anyone.
No.
Even with, if anything, it was almost
Cryptic.
Well, yeah, it almost created going down wrong paths. Not wrong paths, but not going the way that it was supposed to go.
Well, it was definitely, and that was that a lesson or two ago? I can't remember, where it was basically hidden in plain sight. Meaning, there is no chapter or no book that says, okay, this is what's going to happen. Right. There's bits and pieces of it.
Right, but in the Old Testament, they had even less information.
Oh, yeah. We can sit here. I can sit here on an iPad and I can't do it on this, but I can sit there and show you, oh, these verses went to here. I can do a word search, and you could, they couldn't do that. They'd have scrolls. They had to put all the scrolls out.
Well, it isn't even that. It's just they didn't have Christ hadn't come yet.
Well, they didn't. Yes.
And so there was no crucifixion yet. So they didn't.
That to sit there, his disciples that were with him for 3 years, even when they heard it, didn't know it. And that's.
How long do I have to suffer, you fools?
Yes. So here you go. Now listen to this with the eyes of now Daniel 7 in your mind.
Bring forward the witnesses. State for all that hear your accusation.
This fellow said, I am able to destroy the temple of God and to build it in 3 days.
Adjure thee by the living God, that thou tell us whether thou be the Christ, the Son of God. Thou hast said.
Nevertheless, if I tell you, you will not believe. Nevertheless, I say unto you, hereafter shall you see the Son of Man, sitting on the right hand of power and coming in the clouds of heaven.
He hath spoken blasphemy. What further need have we of witnesses? Or think he is guilty of death?
He told him he's God. And that's what set him off. He told him he was God. Now, why does all this matter? We get a lot of things going on. There's more going on than we even got to. All right? There's more going on, but we're going to try to get a couple of more points on. When he was here in Caesarea Philippi, he basically set up Satan to make these guys kill him. All right? He set them up. all right, he was in complete and utter control of the whole situation. So we've got spiritual warfare that is basically resulting in physical, visible warfare. All right, they're going to kill him because of all of this. And so this is right from the book. Before the cross, Satan had eternal claims to us, to our soul. All humans died, and so all go to the realm of the dead, which is Satan's domain. And there we would remain, where it is not for the sacrifice of Jesus and his resurrection. Through faith, though, in his work on the cross, we are risen with him. Now, as we saw in the last week or 2 weeks ago, Satan was expelled from God's presence when the kingdom began on earth. And I think we went through Luke 10 and 18, but we're going to go through tonight if we didn't. God would have no more of his accusations, and Satan basically means accuser, and he had no rights over us. So as a believer, as a believing loyalty to Yahweh, to Jesus, and what he did on the cross, that's what faith is. That means that Satan has no power whatsoever over us. Now, when Jesus made the statement, let's go here first. I'm going to come back to Luke 10 in a second. But again, remember when we were at the gates of hell, when we were at Herman's, that was Bashan. And we've used Psalm 22 before, which is written by David, but which is a vision from Jesus on the cross looking down. And we see that, they separated my lips, they wagged their heads, saying, "Commit yourself to the Lord, let him deliver you, let him rescue him, because he delights in him, Yet you are who brought me forth from the womb." He's talking to this Jesus talking. "You made me trust when upon my mother's breast, when you and I cast from birth," but we get this, there we go. "Be not far from me, for trouble is near, for there is none to help. Many bulls have surrounded me." And this is Jesus looking from the cross. "Strong bulls of Bashan encircle me. When I open my mouth, when they open their mouth wide at me, as ravenous and roaring lions, and I'm poured out like water, and all my bones are broken." This is a picture of the cross. So what happens is you get these, you see the people there, but there's more. When he says mighty bulls of Bashan, it's like there is a set of demons around him, at the same time. That's what Psalm 22 tells us.
So would the people of that day know that's what that's referring to or representing?
Well, I don't know. I doubt it. I doubt that they'd be able to put that together. I don't think we can put it together until we have the Holy Spirit and the New Testament having us look backwards. I don't think any Jew would have thought that Psalm 22 had to do anything with the crucifixion at that time. I don't think anybody would understand that. I think the only reason we know this now is because we're looking back at the facts. I don't think they'd have a clue. I mean, obviously they did. His own disciples did. Now here's what I was trying to get to back at the beginning. One event we didn't talk about, which is talked about here, where we get this line that Jesus said, "I watched Satan fall from heaven like lightning." What happened before that? The 70 returned with joy, saying, "Lord, even the demons are subject to us in your name." Who were the 70? You remember when he sent out 70 to go out and preach in his name and cast out demons and heal everybody? When did that happen? Right after the Mount of Transfiguration. Let me show you. How about we do Luke instead of like 10? So, I'm not going to make it bigger because I got to go back, but
Yeah.
you get the 70 come back, and Jesus tells all this. Well, all we have to do is go up just a little bit. Mount of Transfiguration, 1 chapter before. The 70 went out to cast out demons in his name in that Basham area. Because that's where he was. He hadn't come back before. What's important about 70? The number 70? Divine council,
Right.
Sanhedrin. We're taking over, believers are taking over the divine council role. That's what the revival of the Eden that Jesus is trying to do is going to end up being. So Psalm 82, where we all started, is that divine council scene that's basically saying this is the end for those Elohim that were assigned to the nations, that Jesus is now having believers take the place of to bring back the nations to him. Almost tied this all together. Salvation has nothing to do with moral perfection.
Yeah.
All right? It has nothing to do. If it was, he says this line, that in turn means that salvation cannot be lost by moral imperfection. That is what is not at all gained by performance cannot be lost by poor performance. Salvation is about believing, loyalty, trusting that what Jesus did to defeat Satan's claim and turn from all other gods and their belief systems is part of. And Ephesians, we know this one, for by the grace you have been saved through faith, and not of yourself. It is a gift of God, not a result of works. And this idea that what Jesus came to do was not only to fix the Genesis 3 problem, the fall, but it was to fix the Genesis 6 problem of basically the Elohim that came down to Mount Hermon, sons of daughters, all that thing, and then to bring back the nations, which is the Genesis 11 problem. So we have 3 problems that Jesus is trying to fix to bring back that Edenic goal. And basically, when we are told to go, therefore, and make disciples of all nations, all right, baptizing in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, teaching them to observe all that I have commanded you, that's the mission. And that's, again, Jesus did way more than just forgive our sins. There was a lot more to it.
The part that caught me in this chapter and why this matters was God would have no more of his accusations against believers. He had no more right to our souls.
That's right.
Okay? That's all well and good, but the next line is what gets me. Why then do we live as though he does?
That's exactly right.
I read that and I went...
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's exactly right. But here's the thing. His disciples didn't get it. All right? They didn't understand it. At the time of Jesus' crucifixion, though, none of this seemed real to his disciples, but they would soon get the message in a very, very dramatic and unfortunate way. Meaning, unforgettable way, I should say. Not unfortunate, but unforgettable way. So, listen. His disciples didn't get it when he was here. All right? And we as a church, part of, I think, the problem of Western culture when it comes to the church is that we don't talk as a church body about the unseen spiritual stuff that's going on. We think spiritual warfare is about Satan attacking us. Well, yeah, that's true, but there's way more to it than just that. Good night. There's way more to it. The spiritual battle that Paul talks about is not, it's not with a person, it's with the principalities, authorities, and rulers of this age, which are basically the unseen spiritual realm. Gotta love it when there's like beating on the walls. So it's
Caiaphas.
yeah. Yep. Oh, they said they come in every 10 minutes, and she's like, I'll try to keep them quiet. It's like, yeah, right. A bunch of kids that have been out there for
Probably wired on sugar.
oh
Yes.
yeah. So I don't know if that came off as well as I'd hoped, but man,
My
it's
I mean, it does, give you a lot more to think about, that's for sure.
well, I'll say this. The thing that I hope it does is it opens our eyes. Because listen, you're not going to get and comprehend all of this in, one Bible study for 15 weeks. You know what I mean? You're not, all right? But what I hope it does is now when you go back and you read sections of the Bible, all of a sudden you're like, oh, wait, there's more here. There's more here. And hopefully, as time goes on and we learn more and the Holy Spirit sort of gives us more revelation in how this applies to our life, it should, I hope, give you much more peace as a believer. Yeah. You know what? What's the worst thing you're going to do? You're going to make me suffer? You're going to kill me? That doesn't matter. All right? Your eternal life, by your believing loyalty, starts now. Now you're not done yet. We're not done yet. We still, we won't be done until we're glorified. We'll still have to fight sin. We'll still have to do that. But it's like, if you're fighting any type of sin battle, know that, no kidding. I have a sinful nature. Even though I'm a believer, that doesn't mean it's gone. You still fight that inner battle. But even if you lose, daily battles, that's not what saves you. Your perfection, you're becoming more and more like Christ, is not a salvation issue. It's a sanctification growth issue. And it's part of the mission, because the more and more we become like Christ, the more and more people see that and ask why.
Well, it's a representation
It's
of
a
our
representation.
beliefs.
Yes. Yeah. Because we'll talk about, when we get to it, one of the problems that you get is everything in Western society, especially with church, is very much commercialized marketing. We want to get people in the seats. We want to entertain them with great music and give them a little bit of a message, but make them feel happy. You sort of get a little prosperity gospel going on in there. But really what it's supposed to be is growing in holiness, growing in otherworldliness, so that you can bring other people into that. And it's not a group of righteous, great people. It's a group of broken people working and believing together. But what happens, though, is what we don't do is what holy ground was supposed to be, what cosmic geography was supposed to be. When you came into the presence of God, if there was someone that was unclean, they had to be clean, they had to be purified, and if they weren't going to be, they were thrown out of the camp until they became and repented and came back. We don't do that as a church. And I'm saying capital C, not small c, not Rolling Hills Church. I'm saying church as in capital C, universal church, because that would
Turn people off.
that would turn people off. Well, but the problem is, if you have two believers, there is holy ground. There is the presence of the Lord. And if you have a hypocrite among them, it makes everybody else looking in at it go, well, you're just a bunch of hypocrites. Now, you let somebody come in and continue down that road. So, anyways, enough of that. Hopefully that was good. That was good. We will be in person next week, so no online. And next week it's really the beginning of the great reversal.
Did you know that they have a play scheduled for next weekend here?
No.
Well, I tell you what, we were talking about that earlier today. The communication in this organization is the worst.
So there's a play next week in here.
Yeah.
So we don't have cook in the books.
Well, you don't have that, but I mean, I don't think it's gonna interfere necessarily with us meeting here, but,
No.
just so, you
What
know.
time is it?
Well, it's in the evening, I
Well,
think,
I
Saturday
thought-
and Sunday.
I thought next, I don't know, but I thought it was like Friday night and then Saturday night and Sunday midday. But
That
I
could
don't-
be- That could be.
I don't know that
But you
that's,
see, like this bazaar, until today, did you know about it?
no,
They've got this bazaar plan, they don't put anything in the bulletin, they don't say anything out on an email, nothing.
Yeah, I didn't know, I knew they were having the nativity, I thought it was a one-night thing, I
no,
didn't,
it's 2 nights.
yeah, I didn't know it
It's
was
2
2
nights,
nights.
for all that, the time that they put into that, 2 nights was appropriate, I think. I actually wouldn't have been surprised if it would have been over 2 weekends.
Goodbye, people.
Yeah.